Hey, what's up guys? Today we're talking about the best places you can take photographs in Amsterdam. Alright guys, today we're talking travel photography and places you can actually go to take your very own amazing travel photographs in one of the most picturesque cities that I've ever been to personally, Amsterdam. Now, Amsterdam gets a really bad rap about being like this big party city. Not true at all. Amsterdam is a completely friendly city, very clean, very hospitable people are the Dutch. Love the Dutch, even though everybody thought I was Dutch, I don't speak Dutch. So, let's get to the best places you can actually go in Amsterdam for very cheap. These are all places that you can go whether on public transportation or just for a few euros. So these are going to be very easy places to get to and very cost-effective places to get to if you're a photographer. Number one, start your time out in Amsterdam taking a free walking tour. Number one thing I always do when I visit a city is start by learning how the city is laid out, the biggest places that I can go, and the history of the place, because I like to add place and facts and history along with photographs when I'm out traveling and taking photographs. It really adds like this extra dimension of interest to a photograph, because normally you would visit a place and you would walk up to a location or like a historic building and snap a photo and leave. If you know history behind it, you can add interesting things into the foreground that relate back to the place, relate back to the history of whatever city you're visiting. Amsterdam has a ton of history and a ton of things you can do that with. So take a free walking tour. I highly recommend Freedom walking tours. Now, they don't pay me to say that. I actually went on this tour and it was very, very high quality and very good. They actually take you around to some of the biggest and most historic parts of the city and even add a little extra personal stories to each location based on their lives as well. So it's a really cool way to interact with the history as well as the life of somebody who's lived there for their entire lives. Take a free walking tour from Freedom Tours so you can get acclimated with the city itself. Number two thing you can do is spend some time in Dam Square. Dam Square is where you're going to find a lot of the historical buildings, palaces, places that have been there for a really long time. The churches that are there in Dam Square are really cool to shoot. Spend some time walking around, even photograph people who are there. We saw a few people dressed up as Grim Reapers. You know, that's pretty weird. Why don't you add that into the foreground of a photograph? You can photograph street photography, historic architecture, and travel photography all in one place in Dam Square. It's a really cool place to shoot and a really cool place to see a lot of the history that's going on now, interacting with older history and older buildings that are already there. Number three thing that you need to spend some time photographing are the canals. The canals are picturesque. It's almost like you're walking through a huge small town, and the canals add to that feel. So go over some bridges, feature the canals in your photograph, feature some bikes in the foreground, and try to capture some of the canal boats going under the bridges that you can walk and stand on, going through and adding those to the foreground with the row houses on the side is a really good composition that you can shoot on any canal. The canal boats cruise along all of the canals, so you can definitely find some really interesting compositions and cool shots that add to the uniqueness of Amsterdam whenever you go there. All right, next thing you can do is go out and shoot bikes. Bikes outnumber people in Amsterdam, so why not feature them in your own photography of the place you're traveling to? It's a huge part of their culture in Amsterdam, so why not feature them? You can photograph people passing you on bikes. You can photograph bikes in the foreground. You can photograph bikes in just an abstract way in Amsterdam because they're everywhere. Feature them in your photographs. All right guys, number five thing to shoot in Amsterdam is a little bit north of Amsterdam. You can still get there fairly cheap on public transportation. I took a train there and then walked to the location that we were going to shoot at. These are the windmills in Zaanstad. Now, Zaanstad is an area north of Amsterdam that you can travel to that has these old historic windmills that look incredible at sunset. So do not go at sunrise. It's probably not going to be a good sun angle for you. Go at sunset so you can get that really nice golden light hitting the windmills and hitting like grasses in the foreground. Really cool way to lighten up the scene using the golden light on the grasses in the foreground, and then shoot the row of windmills. It curves around an edge, so shoot the row of windmills featuring like one big one here, and then they get smaller going off in the distance. It's a really good way to use repetition and rhythm in your photography to create a really stunning composition of these old windmills in Zaanstad, and also features a historical fact that they actually used to use these windmills, and some are still in production in Zaanstad. Just a really interesting tip. Go because you can actually smell the chocolate from the chocolate factory that's in Zaanstad. It's like the entire town smells like chocolate. It's pretty amazing. All right, number 6 thing that you definitely need to photograph while you're in Amsterdam is still in Zaanstad. So right after you get done with sunset or earlier in the afternoon, you need to go to the Wooden Shoe Museum. It sounds a little hokey, I know, but they have this really cool wall of wooden shoes, and they're pinned up on the wall in really cool designs. It's a great way to throw on a 70-200 lens and get interesting details of these shoes, create some more abstract photograph using these shoes, create some more interesting concepts using a telephoto lens rather than like a wide angle view of everything. Because in travel photography, a lot of times you get so fixed on the entire scene that you keep a wide angle on your camera at all times. Throw the 70-200 or a telephoto lens on so it allows you to capture these smaller details, capture these more interesting places and features like this wall of wooden shoes. I like to go right at dusk because it gives you a good idea of what this place is like. The wall becomes this really dark blue, and you have a lot of these yellow wooden shoes coming off the wall and yellow light coming out of the window. Blues and yellows are complementary colors, so definitely add those 2 colors into any photographs that you see. It makes it much more appealing. So these are the tips of places that you definitely need to go and photograph during your time in Amsterdam. I wish you the best of travels. Signing off now. If you liked this video, give it a good thumbs up, comment below, or consider subscribing, because we have a lot of these videos coming out on things you can do with your photography for free or a very little price. So definitely subscribe so you can save some cash and get some good photo tips in the meantime.